How the Whales Got His Throat by Rudyard Kipling. In a sea, once upon a time, oh my best beloved, there was a whale. And he ate his fishes, he ate the starfish, and the garfish, and the crab, and the dab, and the plaice, and the dace, and the skate, and his mate, and the mackerel, and the pickerel, and the really truly twirly whirly eel. All the fishes he could find in all the sea he ate with all his mouth. So, till at last there was only one small fish left in all the sea. And he was a small, 'stute fish, and he swam a little behind the whale's right ear, so as to be out of harm's way. Then the whale stood up on his tail and said, "I'm hungry." And the small fish said in a small, astute voice, "Noble and generous, cetacean, what have you ever tasted man?" "No," said the whale. "What is it like?" "Nice," said the small, astute little fish. "Nice, but nubbly." "Then fetch me some," said the whale, and he made the sea froth up with his tail. "One at a time is enough." "One at a time is enough," said the astute fish. "If you swim to latitude 50 north, latitude 40 west, that is magic, you will find sitting on a raft in the middle of the sea, with nothing but a pair of blue canvas breeches and a pair of suspenders. You must not forget the suspenders, O best beloved. And a jackknife. One shipwrecked mariner, who is only fair to tell you is a man of infinite resource and sagacity." So the whale swam and swam to latitude 50 north, latitude 40 west, as fast as he could swim, and on a raft in the middle of the sea with nothing to wear except a pair of blue canvas breeches and a pair of suspenders — you must particularly remember the suspenders, O best beloved — and a jackknife, he found one single solitary shipwrecked mariner, trailing his toes in the water. He had his mummy's leave to paddle, or else he would have never have done it, because he was a man of infinite resource and sagacity. Then the whale opened his mouth back and back till it nearly touched his tail, and he swallowed the shipwrecked mariner and the raft he was sitting on. Who was a man of infinite resources, and this mariner was. Then the whale opened his mouth back and back till it nearly touched his tail, and he swallowed the shipwrecked mariner and the raft he was sitting on, and his blue canvas breeches and his suspenders, which is what you must not forget, and the jackknife. He swallowed them all down in his warm, dark inside cupboards, and then he smacked his lips so, and turned around 3 times on his tail. But as soon as the mariner, who was a man of infinite resources and sagacity, found himself truly inside the whale's warm and dark inside cupboards, he stumped and he jumped and he thumped and he bumped and he pranced and he danced and he banged and he clanged and he hit and he bit and he leaped and he creaked and he prowled and he howled and he hoped and he hopped and he dropped and he cried and he sighed and he crawled and he bawled and he stepped and he leaped and he danced in his hornpipes where he shouldn't, and the whale felt most unhappy indeed. Have you forgotten the suspenders? So he said to the astute little fish, "This man is very nubbly, and besides he is making me hiccough. What shall I do?" "Tell him to come out," said the astute little fish. So the whale called down his own throat to the shipwrecked mariner, "Come out and behave yourself. I've got the hiccoughs." "Nay, nay," said the mariner, "not so, but for otherwise. Take me to my natal shore and the white cliffs of Albion, and I'll think about it." And he began to dance more than ever. "You'd better take him home," said the astute little fish to the whale. "I ought to have warned you that he was a man of infinite resources and sagacity." So the whale swam and swam and swam and swam, with both flippers in his tail, as hard as he could for the hiccoughs. And the last he saw the mariner's natal shore and the white cliffs of Albion. And he rushed halfway up the beach and opened his mouth wide and wide and wide and said, "Change here for Winchester, Nashua, Keenan, and stations on the fitting rod." And just as he said, "Fitch," the mariner walked out of his mouth. But while the whale had been swimming, the mariner, who is indeed a person of infinite resources and sagacity, had taken his jackknife and cut up the raft into a little square grating all running crisscross, and he had to tie it firm with his suspenders. Now you know why to not forget the suspenders. And he dragged that grating good and tight into the whale's throat, and there it stuck. Then he recited the following Sloka, which, as if you have not heard it, I will now proceed to relate. By means of a grating I have stopped your aiding, for the mariner, who is also a Hibernian, he stepped down on the single and went home to his mother, who had given him leave to trail his toes in the water, and he married and lived happily ever after. And so did the whale. But from that day on the grating of his throat, which he could neither cough up nor swallow down, prevented him from eating anything except very, very small fish. And that is the reason why whales nowadays never eat men or boys or little girls. The small, astute little fish went and hid himself in the mud underneath the door sills of the equator, because he was afraid of the whale might be angry with him. The sailor took the jackknife home. He was wearing the blue canvas breeches when he walked out on the shingle, and the suspenders were left behind, you see, to tie the grating with. And that was the end of the tale.